I stand here tonight, facing west, on what was once the last frontier. From the lands that stretch 3,000 miles behind us, the pioneers gave up their safety, their comfort, and sometimes their lives to build our new West. They were not the captives of their own doubts, nor the prisoners of their own price tags. They were determined to make the new world strong and free, an example to the world, to overcome its hazards and its hardships, to conquer the enemies that threatened from within and out. Some would say that those struggles are all over, that all the horizons have been explored, that all the battles have been won, that there is no longer an American frontier. But I trust that no one in this assemblage would agree with that sentiment. For the problems are not all solved, and the battles are not all won. And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Analytical Fanboys podcast, the Modular Media flagship media club, where I myself, the Modular King of the podcasting ring, the Vacuuminator, discuss all sorts of media with my illustrious co-host, the trustworthy Boingo Rider.
But
yes. We are also joined this evening by the Motivator, Snowcone 83. That's
titties.
That new title is an in-joke about the fucking arduous thing we just went through before the recording. It's when we've been on for a while already tonight, folks. Hey, in relation to that, let's get into some This Week in Modular. Chris, have you been working on anything this week?
I have started working on a new video. So far, I believe my plan of 4 videos on to like a week or two off to write scripts basically works. It's functional. It's got to get refined a little bit. But yeah, I got a video plan. I'm going to be working on it. I'm going to have a new weekly upload date for general public, which is going to be Thursdays.
Nice. That's pretty cool. Didn't you also put out a new song this week finally?
Yeah, it's been a little dumb ditty in my head, and I was just trying to figure out a way to like just get it to be something and not just a thing. So I just like hammered it on it for like a good 5-6 hours, give or take, and I was like repeatedly bashing my head and going like, I need a lead. What can I do for a lead? Then I realized, oh wait a second, the first arpeggio thing I did was a lead.
Yeah, it's a solid little ditty. I'm looking forward to stealing it and using it in the background of videos at some point very soon.
Yep.
Cody, do you have anything in terms of video development you want to talk about, or do you want to keep all that pretty close to the chest until you're ready to actually put something out?
All I will say is that I think at some point in the future, videos will be made. No, especially from the talk we had earlier today, I feel like I'm going to start working on. I have to decide what I'm going to do it on. Maybe some of the recent Black Series pickups, since they're all kind of tied together. The gaming greats would work. I don't know. Yeah, there's going to be something. There's going to be something coming. And it's coming hard and hot.
It's coming soon. That's why I'm excited. I did not think you would be producing content this soon. So, like, talking with you the last couple days has been pretty hype.
Yeah.
As for myself, I put out a new video this week reviewing the second season of Power Rangers Beast Morphers, and as tends to happen, when I talk about Power Rangers, the video was very successful, my most successful video in a little while. However, immediately the next day, some very important Power Rangers news came out that fucking threw a huge monkey wrench into that, and now the video I'm going to be recording tomorrow will probably have to involve me reacting to that news in some way.
Yeah.
I've also just been getting back into doing the whole toy photography thing for Instagram. I took a ton of photos of the Lightning Collection Beast Morphers figures the same day I shot that season 2 review, and I've been trying to do daily posts of just like, here's a cool thing in the Vac Shack, because that audience, the people who only follow my Instagram, because there are people like that, they haven't seen the Vac Shack yet, so I'm trying to give it sort of full context there. I'm experimenting around with Instagram stories. I'm doing like fucking workout clips and shit, which is something I never thought I'd do, but I'm into working out enough now that I'm like, yeah, I could do this. I could make it look good without it just looking like a fatso fumbling around with dumbbells. Yeah, it's that's been fun getting back into that. I never thought I would say like I'm actually sort of into doing Instagram shit on a regular basis, but here we are, 2020. It's a magical time.
Also, I just double checked. I'm 1 subscriber away from 600.
Oh, dude, that's fucking awesome.
Well, let me just subscribe to your account. I'm just fucking I've been subscribed for a long time.
You've been subscribed since high school. When I made those shitty, cringy vlogs.
The ones I had saved and I can no longer access? Yes, I know.
Oh, no. No, if you ask me, you can access them.
Yeah, but I can't show other people at my
at your discretion.
Yeah. Which is what I want to do to embarrass you.
Oh, you also, I can find it. It just takes me a minute. There's still also that 30-minute short film I made senior year of high school.
Oh shit.
Yeah. Ooh,
I want to see this.
With Skrillex as background.
I want to see this, but before that, we need to get on to tonight's main topic, because guys, tonight we are discussing the 6-issue miniseries from 2004 by Darwin Cook. It's DC: The New Frontier, which is something I put on the list because I absolutely fucking love this comic. In my opinion, it is the DC Comics version of Marvel's, and it is the book that they should be touting as like the ultimate achievement in what you can do with the DC style. Fuck The Dark Knight Returns, fuck Watchmen. I mean, those are fine stories. They're fine. They're great. But when I think of DC, I think of stuff like this. And after setting that huge fucking precedent, guys, was this your first time with this story, and how did you feel about it?
I watched the straight-to-DVD movie version the year it came out.
Me too.
Ooh.
I never read the comic before, so the movie was always my version of the Frontier stuff.
Yeah,
and like going back and forth, I completely understand why they did the stuff in the movie the way they did, but the stuff in the comic wouldn't have worked on screen.
Yeah, the comic feels very much for its medium, and it's so huge and sprawling and expansive that like I don't see any way you could adapt this short of doing it as like a MCU style series of movies, or like a 1-season TV show.
So here's what I'll say to that. Because like Chris, I watched the movie I watch every single DC animated thing, usually before it actually officially releases, because Watch Cartoons usually has it on the DL. Mm-hmm. But lately I've been doing the, since I have a job, I now actually pay to watch them.
Scandalous.
I know, it's crazy. And I feel good about myself.
How dare you, sir? How dare you feel good about yourself for contributing to the economy?
But yeah, so every time one comes out, I grab it. But anyways, I watched that first, and I remember liking it a lot. I read the first issue of this yesterday, with the plans to do the rest of it, and then I actually ended up just doing it all today, because for reasons unknown, I didn't finish it yesterday. I just don't want to say that. So I decided to do it today, and I'm glad I did because it was all fresh. And then I went straight into watching the movie, because I also thought it'd be an interesting talking point to compare that. So here's what I'll say. The comic is leagues better than the movie.
Yes,
the movie gets a lot of things wrong.
Yes, Queen.
And it does a lot of things weird.
Yes, Queen.
Now this story is like really phenomenal, but I really didn't think the differences would be like that stark. I didn't think they were going to be that far apart.
Like, if you don't mind me cutting in, I'll be honest. I don't hate the adaptation.
No.
I understand why it is the way it is, but they don't like cut out or gut out. They just erase so much of like the subplots and the little bits of contextuality here and there that it almost feels like a different story to me. A still good and worthwhile story, but a different story.
Because I think the comic deals with the DC universe. The movie deals with the DC superheroes.
The movie almost feels like it's just a movie about Hal Jordan and J'onn J'onzz, which isn't a bad concept, honestly. But the comic is like Hal Jordan and J'onn J'onzz are kind of the two main characters, but every member of the Justice League gets a subplot, and we touch on every corner of the DC universe from that time period.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, the DC universe at that time period also had the Losers, the Adventure Squad, whatever they were.
The Blackhawks, the Challengers of the Unknown.
The original Suicide Squad, which wasn't supervillains. It was just like, oh, here's a bunch of whack jobs, you know?
The original Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
Which I'm really glad I was able to pick out in the comic. I'm not trying to interrupt, sorry.
That's okay.
But looking at that comic, it just made me go like, yeah, this is DC Universe. It's a bunch of weird clandestine spy groups and super groups and pulp heroes and their version of Doctor Strange and
like legit, dude. I just love how why I compare this to Marvel's is it's taking all of these good but seemingly disparate and sort of oddball things that people look at. Okay, Marvel, these days we generally kind of understand it as a cohesive universe, and even back then we kind of did, but DC always kind of has this side-eye glance of like, well, it's a bunch of companies and different characters all sort of forced together into the same universe. This kind of grabs you by the collar and goes like, no, it all fits together. You just have to look at it from the right angle.
Like, reading this made me like, I'm a Marvel guy, so inevitably I'm going to make comparisons to Marvel. Mm-hmm. It really contextualized, like, DC is superhero universe and pulp. It's about pulpy action and, like, tough guys doing tough guy things and femme fatales. It's very 40s and 50s, and when DC leans on that, it works brilliantly. It's so good. Marvel is superheroes, but horror. All the Marvel heroes are, like, one step removed away from B-movie monsters. The Hulk, the Thing, Mr. Fantastic, Spider-Man.
They all have tragic secret identity personalities and stuff like that. And like that just goes back to the old comparison people always throw out is like Marvel is your friends, DC is your parents.
But like even going into the future, you continue to see that like DC is about pulpy action adventure kind of stuff with fun, lighthearted things, and like you see that in like Crisis, in the couple of Crises, and the Question being integrated into the Marvel Universe. It fits that vein. It has a lot of noir and that kind of stuff. Well, Marvel really is really good when it leans into its horror. Fucking Blade, the Punisher is basically a slasher villain.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking the Vampire Boy,
Morbius.
Morbius, like
Venom,
Carnage. Like they're movie monsters. That's what they are, and it's really refreshing to just kind of genuinely see this is what people like about DC. This is the core DNA of DC, and so often it feels like it's not there because they kind of replace that core idea with the satire that Watchmen did of that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because
which is valid.
This feels very much like a counterpoint to Watchmen of like, no, the world can be a little fucked up, but good guys will prevail and save it.
Mm-hmm. Like right now I'm holding and looking at my copy of it, which is the 15th anniversary deluxe edition, and just like looking at this cover art of all these like very simplistic but very flashy heroes that are just running at you in the cover that this version has, it just makes me smile. It just makes me go like, yeah, this is fun, this is badass, this is everything I want out of media, because that's the key thing about DC's heroes. Yes, they're not very realistic. Yes, they're sort of these ideals and sort of things to aspire to from days gone by, but they're still things to aspire to. They are a hope for the future of what we can be. And just looking at that and just thinking about that makes me happy in a way that a lot of media these days doesn't. And that's not me throwing shade at Marvel or any other superhero thing. That's honestly just me throwing shade at the fact that we don't do more stuff like this. Even in DC itself, it feels like there's always a fight from writers and artists to kind of get this stuff back in.
To counterpoint that and to throw some shade at Marvel, I would actually think, because like the more you guys talking about it, I think I realized it. To compare the movie and the book again, all the weird, shitty changes they make in the movie is literally what Marvel does. Like, that's how I feel most of the time about every Marvel movie, even though I love them. And I do like this one. It's pretty much a straight up exact what they do, like I don't know,
they remove context and implant a new context.
Yeah, like if we wanted to get into it, like specifically Hal Jordan, that was the one that like stood the most out to me. Like I loved that, like he got kicked off of the space expedition thing. I loved how that was handled in the comic. That was really interesting, and that's something they did differently in the book. And it's boring. It's boring, and like it's so just, I don't know. It's, for lack of a better word, just unimaginative. Yeah, like you expect Hal Jordan to just immediately be a good guy even without the ring, and like in this context, I don't know. What I would say is that, like, I think if they did a Dark Knight Returns / Part 2, if they handled it like that, they could have done everything they needed to in 2 equal length movies.
Probably, but this was also adapted like years before they came up with that concept, and back when they were not even sure what their audience for these was, for the direct to DVD movies was.
Especially because, like, if I remember right, around that time they were all like pretty limited in time. They were able to get longer as it went by, but like it feels like a lot of the things they cut or change in this movie were done purely to expedite time. Oh, we need Hal to have a moment of down and doubt, but we can't do it the way in the comic did because that would take too long. Let's just send them up in the rocket and shit goes wrong.
If I remember correctly, their restrictions are all the movies have to be around the length of 90 minutes and they have to be a PG-13. Like
Well, that's
they don't,
not true
they don't want a
anymore.
G, they don't want an R. That's what I'm getting to. But those restrictions have been slowly laxed, and also they found ways around them. Like they have the we can release 2 parts thing now, and also they were like, well, if we're gonna do Killing Joke, it has to be an R. And also Barbara Gordon and Batman have to be fucking, because that's something we needed in that
Don't
story.
bring that one up. Don't do that. All right.
If you want to be completely technical, there was a comic right before the Killing Joke where they did bone.
I did not know that.
Is like
I'm pretty sure
that ruins that movie.
Yeah,
It ruins that movie, man. Like
I was planning to go see it in the theater, and then that leaked, and I was like, "Fuck that!"
yeah,
also, like the movie got rid of like the losers, and like,
yeah, they did, and that's in a special too, right? Like, because I started reading special 1, and then the rest of it, even though there's barely any, but like it seems like the losers are kind of covered in like the special.
I don't know how it was what all it was released, because I read it in the copy I have. It's all in the proper reading order, and there's no issue breaks. It's separated by like chapters. You'll get the I don't know if it's in the actual issues, but there'll be like a panel that says chapter whatever, and then the subtitle for the chapter. And sometimes it'll be like halfway through a page, so you can't tell if it's an issue break or if this is like part 2 of an issue.
Even the regular issues are like that.
Okay. I read it digitally, issue by issue. The losers was the first thing you see. That's your introduction to this DC universe.
Good. That's the way it is in this trade, and I love that, because like most people going into this, me when I first read this would not have any clue who the losers is.
But like I think it's a brilliant way to like bring you into this world, because like I said, it's going from that classic pulp armies unit story, and they are put in a situation of superheroes, and they are not able to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the kind of the catalyst for us to get the idea of like this world needs heroes like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Martian Manhunter, all these characters, because this world is bigger and crazier and more dangerous than anybody knows.
Like, just that's the thing I really love about this comic in concept, because the original idea Cook had for this was he wanted to take the comics of his childhood and contextualize them through history to explain why he liked them so much. And probably the most brilliant example of that in the book, in my opinion, is, oh, hey, how come during the 50s DC really only published books about Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman? McCarthyism.
Like, I completely forgot about the whole. It's a lot more minor in the movie, but the whole McCarthyism thing in the story, and it's like just front and center in the comic.
Mm-hmm. Like, this book is not afraid to like shit on politics of the day at all, and I love it.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
I hate bringing up. I mean, I guess we're just gonna end up doing that anyways. But I think the biggest sin the movie takes is not including anything but in the last card sequence about John Henry Irons.
Yes, thank you.
No. Yeah,
that is. Oh my god, that's such a wonderful addition to the canon of DC, and I don't know why we haven't done more with that character since this. Like, as far as I know, this version of John Henry is only in this comic.
And that's Steel in the main continuity, right?
Yeah, that's Steel.
You see in the last issue a panel of a little black kid with a Superman cape reading a comic about John Henry. They're implying that that is John Henry Irons, who goes on to become Steel.
Yeah, but his dad is wielding the hammers. I mean, Steel only uses one, but his dad's using two. Everything. Also, he looks like, I forgot what his name is, but he looks exactly like a Watchmen character.
Yeah. Who I think in the Watchmen comic was a black man who hunted down KKK members.
Excellent.
Oh, I bet.
I think that's what it was in the comic. I can't remember in Watchmen.
The story, the book, everything about this, like, if it was dropped today, they'd be like, whoa, is this about today? And I mean, yeah, you're going to find that in a lot of media, mainly because I guess a lot of shit that we've made in the past is like predicting a dystopian, shitty situation in the future. And we're like, whoa, what are we in a dystopian, shitty situation? Everything's pretty much predicted. That's crazy. But I mean, honestly, a lot of the stuff that like they get into about like race and just politics and just I love love, and I mean the movie also included it properly, almost word for word, but the well, it omitted of something, but when Wonder Woman comes upon that camp of yeah, and like she sets them free and they choose to do that, and like Superman is like all up her ass about it. Like, I love everything about it in the book because also she's running like an unofficial recovery mission, which is just some cut and dry military bullshit.
I love that this book is like freely shitting on the Superman of the day, but then it's also coming around and going, he's not a bad guy. He was just led down a stupid path.
Mm-hmm. He's a guy who's trying to do the best he can, given the limitations of what he believes is right.
Mm-hmm. And that fucking scene towards the end where you find out that like it was like, I'm not necessarily into the idea of putting Batman over as smarter than Superman, but in this book, I think it really works to have it be like, no, it was Batman's idea that Superman would work with the government so that they wouldn't have too many problems.
But that's also like, it kind of fits with Batman being a strategist, and like, there's layers to it, and like, there's a lot of interesting dialogue is one of the best parts of this book. The dialogue, the captions, like, partly because the movie never had any of the captions being on screen or being read or anything, you lose so much emotional context.
Mm-hmm.
Like you see in the movie, John is watching an old noir film, and he transforms into the detective from the movie. Mm-hmm. And like in the comic, that's, oh, I can see that people do good in this world. That's what I want to do. And it's just like, it's that kind of like hope in humanity kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But in this, it's just like, oh, I guess that's just his disguise now.
Or like the fucking thing about like he likes going to the movie theater because he can that's the closest he has to the sort of community he felt on Mars. And his reaction to John Henry's killings, like the caption boxes he has about like just being so indignant about the fact that this guy stood up for what was right and he got killed for it, is so good and feels so validating, especially with some of the shit that's going on in the world right now.
Like, they throw out commie insults left and right. It's weird reading it as a person who is very left involved.
But there's a very big difference between the Communist Party of then and the Communist Party of now.
Oh, no, it's very much. It's just more of like, it's just kind of funny because he was like, oh, Hal Jordan, I hear you're a hot shot. You don't listen to rules, and I'm pretty sure you're a little bit pink. And it's just like, whoa. Caring about people is like a detriment to your higher ability.
I don't know, like, I mean, super villains. It's nice to appreciate. It's just I don't know. There's so much this book does just to each character that really makes like me happy. And the other thing they don't do is they make almost like a joke of it, of like Superman being like, well, if he can't do it, we can't do it. But like, you know, he gets like shit on immediately. And I also always appreciate that part. Even in the comic, though, I mean, they had more set up for Aquaman as well. Not a whole lot. He's barely there, but he doesn't really need to be.
No,
I don't know, man.
Like they use Aquaman the exact amount they really need to for the story.
Yeah. But what I'd say is like every time, like one of the best parts about this book, or I guess one of the most important, is just like the inner monologue, especially at the beginning, or not the beginning, but like whenever Hal's landing on that South Korean soldier or North Korean soldier.
good.
Yeah, North Korean.
Whenever he's like landing on it and he's thinking about what to say, and that whole like exchange in the copter with Lois, like that's detrimental to the story and his story, and that's gone, ripped out of like the movie. It's done a different way.
It's so quick in the movie. Like, you really sit and steep in that scene in the comic, and you get full context for why this is terrifying and why it makes him so traumatized for almost the entire rest of the story. And like that's something we've only kind of touched on so far. Hal Jordan is basically the main character of this story. We meet him when he's a little kid, and we follow him all the way up until he becomes Green Lantern, which is right at the start of the first act, the third act. And I'll be honest with you, Hal Jordan is kind of my least favorite Green Lantern, but this makes me love him. This is like the best thing that's ever been done with him as a character, in my opinion.
I mean, it's also kind of like the best Hal Jordan, or not the best Hal Jordan, but I mean like this is like peak Hal Jordan, yeah, like peak Hal Jordan. Like if you're reading a story with a good Hal Jordan in it, that's like gonna have some good Hal Jordan-y goodness. Like this is what you're looking at.
Like the closest other comparison I can think is the Green Lantern cartoon. A good couple years back.
Oh yeah, that was a good show. I did like him in that, but he felt like a very different character from comic book Hal Jordan to me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's gonna be a lot of different versions. He's not my favorite either. My favorite is Jon Stewart.
Yeah, I mean that's the Green Lantern.
A man of taste.
Everyone's favorite.
I mean, I do have a soft spot. I can't remember the redhead
Guy Gardner.
Guy Gardner. I love Guy Gardner. There's a part of me that just loves the fact that he's just wearing a Green Lantern leather jacket half the time.
And like Kyle Rayner is also highly underrated. Basically every Green Lantern you can say like a lot of nice things about, and then it's like, oh, and Hal was the first, and he's an archetypical hero.
Hey, don't forget Alan Scott.
I like how they've done how Alan Scott's been dealt with now too.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really cool thing.
Oh, one thing I really found, like, I'm pretty sure they cut out of the comic. I watched like the first two-thirds of the movie. I'm pretty sure they cut it out. The Council of Supernatural Heroes.
Oh yeah, dude, that is completely omitted.
That scene was really great, except for Billy. I didn't like the way they treated Billy in that scene, but I'll let you guys gush for a second.
I can understand that Billy thing because they basically made it adult Shazam talking through child Billy.
I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with portraying Billy Batson or Captain Marvel, Shazam, whatever you want to call him, portraying him as somebody who would listen to the other magic heroes and stand back. I feel like he'd be like, yeah, I get where you're coming from, but also, fuck that, I'm a hero, I'm gonna go help.
I can understand that. But like having Spectre be there was pretty dope. Having Dr. Fate was like I have never read a Dr. Fate comic. I barely seen anything with Dr. Fate. But goddamn, is that not one of my favorite DC heroes purely on the lore and design of the character?
Oh my god, that helmet is like one of the most iconic DC artifacts.
Dude, it was one of the artifacts in JLA versus Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Because have we read that?
I haven't.
Basically, the whole point of that story is like a big DC bad guy and a big Marvel bad guy. Like a big DC bad guy's wanting to like destroy the Marvel and DC universes, like figure things out to see the makings of the universe. And a DC like big cosmic guy goes like, to do that, you have to play my game. You choose 5 heroes and I'll choose heroes, and they gotta collect all these mystic items from our universes, trying to buy fucking time. And it's like, oh, it's the Infinity Gauntlet, it's the Infinity Gems, it's the Wand of Watum from Doctor Strange, Marvel, the Nullifier from Marvel. There's a good number of like the Power Battery from DC, and one of them is Dr. Fate's helmet.
Well, have you seen Young Justice or the live-action Constantine show?
No, I've
I've
seen
seen
first
all
two
of Young
seasons.
Justice.
Okay, so Cody, you know, but Chris, in Young Justice, they make a big deal out of the helmet sort of being like a lantern ring that possesses you. Like there are multiple people who wear the helmet throughout that show, and every time it's treated as like either super traumatic or like they're taking this huge duty on their shoulders of like somebody has to wear the helmet, somebody has to be fate, so I am going to do it because this person, I don't want this person to have to do it, or oh shit, the helmet got on to me, we have to free that person now because we don't want them to be stuck as fate for the rest of their life. And because of that, when Constantine started up like a year after they started doing that shit in Young Justice, there's just one shot in the first episode of that show where there's like a bunch of glory shots of Constantine's lair, and like one of those shots you see the helmet in a glass case, and like I marked out super hard because I knew the consequences of the helmet from Young Justice.
It's like a pure lawful good version of like a symbiote.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Naboo, right?
Mhm.
Well, I don't even know lawful good. I don't even know that I would, because like his whole shtick, Naboo's whole like thing is like he'll just choose, you know. I mean, he'll just choose to like be like he could just make the decision that like, you know, I like this host. I'm just gonna use this body until it's no more, and he can just decide to do that. And you know, going back and forth with this guy is very hard. That's why it's treated like that in Young Justice. And I believe the rest of just regular stuff. I think like whenever he originally started, it wasn't like that. He just like I'm not even sure if like the helmet was a part of it. I know, uh, like if the helmet was a part of his power, if he wasn't just already, you know, like the boy. But I don't know. I think it's more chaotic good, if that's the better word.
I
It's
would say
keeping the
law-
balance.
I'd say
Keeping the
lawful
balance
because like
regardless.
in DC lore, isn't he like the paragon of magic order? And there's like a magic chaos.
Well, yeah, but like that's why I'm saying like chaotic good, or maybe not chaotic. I don't know.
Too
It's
good.
keeping the
He's
balance no matter what, and like, but chaos isn't seen as like chaos isn't seen as chaos. Chaos is seen as like chaos magic versus like the other. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
But I
he's
mean,
almost like he's like indifferent good. He's like he does not give a shit about you as a person. He gives a
mhm.
shit about preserving the laws of nature and nothing else.
Yeah, because convincing Doctor Fate whenever it is
Neutral,
just
lawful neutral.
that's it. Because he'll rarely like want to like stick his neck out in a situation that he doesn't need to.
But no, I just really
More
like that.
surprising for me to see that what's his name? Is it the Phantom Stranger or something like that, or whatever his name is? The white and green,
The
The
Spectre.
Spectre.
the Spectre. From what I understand, he is like way past that line compared to Doctor Fate.
He's almost like a Marvel style character because he is the literal embodiment of vengeance within the DC universe. He
So he
shows
thinks
up.
he's Ghost Rider.
Yeah, he shows up to exact cosmic vengeance and make sure that justice is upheld and like things go as they are supposed to throughout time and space. Um, like the most recent example I can think of it is he showed up during the CW Crisis on Infinite Earths to basically go like, "All right, Oliver Queen, quit pussyfooting around. You need to die. You need to take on my powers, and you need to reset the universe back to being the way it's supposed to be." And they're all like, "We've never met you before." Doesn't fucking matter.
But also a thing I kind of noticed while reading this, the overall plot line involving the center is essentially the overall plot line of Watchmen, but the good guys win.
Yes.
Yeah, and that also started driving down to me because both in the comic, I mean, in the finishing of the story, they show that like doomsday clock, and it's hard in the context of DC to see that and not immediately think of the Watchmen. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of like Watchmen stuff
Like,
in this.
I
With
almost feel
DC
like that moment is saying like that stuff is still coming. That stuff still has to happen at some point. But like let's the whole point of the book is let's not forget our roots.
Yeah.
but like DC's really good at just making like here's the overall story of this part of our universe that is definitive. Like Kingdom Come, Watchmen, this All-Star Superman, I'd say as well.
Yeah. Like I honestly, because this is such a sprawling book about the DC universe, and I wouldn't necessarily say like do this exact story, do a period piece or anything, but why hasn't this been used as a template for the DC live action movie universe as opposed to just Zack Snyder fumbling around with whatever ideas he has that week?
Because The Dark Knight made a lot of money.
Yeah, it's literally like they wanted they're afraid to like try to operate within themselves. They think they have to either copy Marvel or just like copy Christopher Nolan. They have to either be all gritty, because I mean that's a common joke. It's like super gritty. They do it super real and super gritty, and it doesn't really need that. I don't know if any of you have watched Doom Patrol. If I've been like shotgunning,
I've seen the first season and it is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm current on it. Actually, I think I'm not as of yesterday, but I'm current on it up until yesterday because they release new episodes every Thursday. And I've also been like researching stuff about Doom Patrol more because even when I mean I've always loved Marvel and DC, but like as a kid I also looked at like the DC Selects a lot. And they had a Robot Man, and I remember seeing it, and I was just like, "Whoa, this guy's named Robot Man. That's a thing that I like." And he's not my favorite Doom Patrol character. Mine is Larry Trainer, which I'm bringing up Doom Patrol anyways, just because that's in like the flying sequence. They're like they talk like you see Larry Trainer in like the Air Force just around. Like you see first, like you see him with a badge, then you see him like on his helmet and whatnot.
Dude, that is something else I just really love about this book is that it's so good at cameos and like surprise cameos that then immediately make perfect sense. Like fucking Vandal Savage being in a cell at the Ferris Aircraft Base and just Jon Stewart working on Hal Jordan's airplane in one scene and then like being like, don't fucking call me boy, Jordan. I don't take that shit, and then walking off. It's good.
There's a scene where I'm like, dude, I swear to God, that's Niles Calder working on, or just like sitting there at the table, because it was like a bunch of like important people talking strategy, and then I realized,
that's legit
Niles.
what that's supposed to be. And then you see him later on in like one panel where they're showing how things will progress. They show him forming the second Doom Patrol.
And also, like the final page of let's like here's the '60s of DC. You see the Doom Patrol. You also see the Metal Men, which are always like one of those like deep cut DC things that I just go like, that is so definitively DC Comics that you have to kind of love it, no matter how goofy it gets.
I would say as to like why we haven't seen something like this is like, I think that's what DC would have to do. They would have to like pump out more movies. Like if they did DC animated live action, if they treated it like that, because the way they treat it right now is they do 4 movies a year. It doesn't have to be 4 movies a year, but they do like 4 movies a year. And for the longest time, I think it was like 2 new or like 2 outlier projects and then 2 projects that move the universe forward. And that's how they've done it every single year.
Which
so
I'm not a
that's
fan of that universe, but like that is a great release model.
I've watched it all. Like I was watching it before I realized it was a universe.
Oh,
And
that's
I
cool.
think honestly before they realized it was a universe, because like if you go back and look at some of the character designs for Flashpoint, which is where it officially, they're like very weird, and like they tone it down over the next like 3 installments in this universe, and then they flatten out and like flatline and keep it like consistent the rest of the way. But it's worth the watch. It's all worth the watch. But if they did that with the big, I mean, actually they kind of have, and it's kind of proven, because we haven't been getting a whole lot of DC movies, but we did get the Joker, or we got Joker, and that to me would be like if this was something presented in that form of media, but like good, it would
And
be
it's
like the Joker.
also, did you see Shazam?
I did.
Yeah, I saw that. That was the first DC movie I'd seen in a few years because like BBS really pissed me off at the time. But it could just be a universe where like they're big popular characters in the public consciousness.
Before that one final scene, it was basically a Fawcett comic movie.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I like talking about like doing a DC universe, I think if DC went like, all right, we're doing a New Frontier as our first movie to kind of get everybody into the idea of what the DC universe is, and you do like a Batman trilogy, you do like a Wonder Woman trilogy, you do all that kind of stuff. You do like a Justice League, and I would treat it more like Justice League Europe, where you had like Blue Beetle and Booster Gold like being jokey guys, and it's like a fun little comedy. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, but Justice League.
That'd be great.
And basically what I do is like you'd have a 5-part Superman story, and that's kind of like your through line, because it's Superman. Of course it's your through line. You do first 3 movies, and you do the standard thing. You do like a Lex Luthor, you do a Zod, you do, honestly, if it was up to me, I'd do a Mr. Mixapitalik. Because he's just awesome.
Brainiac, and I want Metallo, and I want them to be good.
Here's my pitch: like do 5 Superman movies. The last 2, instead of doing the death of Superman, you do All-Star Superman, and that's your death of Superman for this universe. And the next movie you do basically a kind of reimagining of War of the Supermen mixed with Kingdom Come.
Ooh. That's not a half bad pitch.
So instead of like one of the Supermen is Shazam.
Ooh, I like that idea.
And so like it's all about like this concept of what is the core of this story, what is the core of this universe, and you kind of like do it like that. Mm-hmm. And then the final movie you do is you do a Crisis and you reboot the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not exactly what I do, but that's a really solid plan, man. I like it.
And if we do, in continuing this pitch, if you do New Frontier as the first movie, I would replace the center with just Starro. You just do Starro.
Chris, have you seen any of the DCEU?
No, not really.
Some of it, or not the DCEU, some of the DC animated universe.
Some
of what you said is kind of what they do, because they do Doomsday kind of early, and then they do Reign of Superman.
I saw those 2 movies. I know I did see those 2.
I loved Reign of Superman. I loved how they handled that.
Oh yeah. Because genuinely, it has some of the most interesting Superman characters with Steel, Superboy, and Eradicator.
My one thing about that movie though is I love that design of Superboy. I also like, my preferred look for Superboy is Young Justice Superboy, and I'll almost not accept anything different.
They're 2 different Superboys. Like they're 2 different characters.
I mean, they're not.
They're not, but like
they're the same origin.
to me, it's just they seem so different to me aesthetically and personality wise. Like they have to be two different characters.
I mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, he could just be like another clone. But I don't know. I'm also just such a big fan of how they did everything in Young Justice.
Young Justice is we need to do Young Justice on
I
the show
also
at some
thought
point.
Young Justice was part of the DC animated universe because a lot of the character designs are very similar, and they were leading to the same place that the animated movies were going.
That's because they
At
kind
the
of have
same
a
time.
house style for animation at the moment.
I need to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Continue talking.
Well,
Jesus.
how unprofessional. What a person.
Fuck you.
Yeah, he's not a person. Come on.
Do we want to are there any other elements you can think of that we should really touch on from the actual story itself?
I'm thinking.
Because I have a couple, but I want to defer to you guys a little more.
Trying to think if there's anything specific I want to talk about. Not off the top of my head. It'd probably just be better for you to go, because I can't think of anything.
How do you feel about the Flash in this?
The Flash?
Yeah,
I like it. I mean, I love the Flash no matter. Sometimes I say he's my favorite DC character, but I change my favorites a lot, anyways. Although I will say, if I'm watching something, I am okay. How about this? Flash and Green Lantern are my favorite things to watch, read, or do anything with when it comes to DC. Even though I love everything else,
yeah,
it's when they're doing everything with the Speed Force and everything with the Lantern Corps is why I love DC to its, and like, well, I'll just never not be like they're both great, like,
yeah, I got you, dude.
because just like everything with the Speed Force in general is dope, but like the Flash in this specifically, I like when he's talking about, I like that, like I like that segment where he's on the television and like why he's decided to do what he's done because he's pretty much been betrayed by his country. And I like when he talks about the OG Flash as well. But it's also fun just to see, like, the Flash is one of those characters who you can get one of those crazy, like, holy crap moments, but, like, all the time. Because when he, like, leaves Central City to be in Vegas, and, like, the way he breaks it down.
That's another thing I really like before you get into the Vegas scene. The whole thing with how they incorporate the JSA into this. I love that this is, like, the history of the post-crisis DC, where it's like, yeah, these characters existed in the same universe of us, and we also have comic books of them. We have our cake and we're eating it too. We don't care. Would these stories all work together? Just accept it.
Yeah. And like, again, like we already did kind of say that, but like, it's his inner monologue in this scene that makes it infinitely better than the one in the movie, because he talks about how, like, he's like, I start off at like a whatever pace, like just leaving the city and making sure to dodge people, and then as soon as I get past city lines, like
He
like
fucking
just
atomizes himself.
yeah, and like that's something I had never thought about. Like that, me reading that line right there, even though I knew he could do that, I never thought of him doing that while running. I've never seen that. I've never read that. I know it's been done before, but like me reading this book and seeing this, I was just like, oh shit, that's how he does it.
Yeah.
That's how
and
he, like, that's how they MacGuffin him not fucking obliterating people or A-training people in this.
Or also wind resistance and friction.
Yeah. I like the Vegas scene. I didn't have a whole lot to talk about that specifically. It's nice. In the comic, it's definitely I think that's the biggest thing they take out. As far as like setting wise, they're both drawn in the same way to like look right, but everything, all the little moments in the comic are screaming to you like 50s, 60s on purpose. Like whenever they're talking about the Firebird and all the cars, those are the exact cars. It's meant to like, and they're on the show floor. Those are famous cars that we see, but they're on the show floor being like about to come out. Like it's all things that are meant to put you in a very specific spot. Everything like talking about Nixon or just, whatever. And like almost all of that's omitted. And it's probably because, again, like y'all said, like they really didn't know at the time, what the audience was. But
It
they're
also
probably
might be
afraid to be
copyright
political.
reasons for things like make and model of cars.
Yeah, designers and could be like up and on.
I mean, yeah, but like the car scene was omitted almost completely, and then also put back in strangely. So it's like instead they were in like a weird, different type of setting in the movie, still in Vegas, and then in one of the weird areas that Flash searches for one of the flash bombs, it's in a car showroom. But anyways, like I'm not harking on cars specifically. I'm just also talking about like the omission of like the losers in that whole first part of it,
which completely takes the air out of the name of the rocket ship.
Yeah. And like that was the other thing. Like whenever they were talking about it, I actually didn't even catch the name of the rocket ship while reading the comic directly. I didn't like pull that through, but then while watching the movie, I was like, oh. And I'm like, while watching that and hearing that, I'm like, that doesn't even fucking matter in this context. Like, it matters to me that I know that, but it doesn't matter to anybody watching the story, and that's a lot taken out.
Honestly, thinking about it, I think this movie works best not as just a pure adaptation for people to watch. It works best as a companion piece.
No, it does. And that's what I used it for. Because what I wanted to do is I got hyped on reading all of this. And I'm like, man, I want to see some of this stuff in action. I want to see this, like...
You want to hear certain
fight scene
speakers voiced.
Yeah, like, I want to see some of this stuff. I want to... Because I don't have action figures of these versions of characters. I want to mind play with my mind eye some of this shit. And then that's what I went and did.
Like, honestly, a pipe dream of mine in terms of video making is I would love to make, I don't know if Chris ever showed you it, Cody, but Chris, B-Mask's Fantastic Four video.
Oh, yeah.
I want to make that, but just on the New Frontier and the thing, and like the background section that he did on the creation of the FF there, that wouldn't be me talking about the things the New Frontier is extrapolating on. And I would go like the whole 9 yards of hiring voice actors to voice certain panels.
The video we're talking about, Cody, is there's a video essayist I really enjoy, and I'm not sure if Vac has dived into his...
No, you got me fully into him. I've seen his whole backlog.
Okay, cool. He did it in like an hour and a half long video just saying, I love the Fantastic Four. Here is why.
Yeah.
So
I don't watch a whole lot of those. Some of them you send me, I've watched a lot of the stuff you send me when it comes to like video essays, but sometimes like I don't go out of my way, I guess is what I'm saying. Like I don't have any YouTubers. Some of the people that I guess it depends on the format.
Donut technically is video essays, but
that guy that you sent me that talked about Catholicism and RoboCop.
Yeah.
That video made me subscribe to his channel and watch his videos regularly.
I don't remember that. I know I probably did send that, but I don't remember.
It's just one of those things.
You don't want to wake up. Everybody sucks. Everything is fucked. Don't
but
really
no,
know why.
I don't. I also like. I guess to bring up something similar. I don't know if either of you have ever watched Venture Brothers.
I have not, but I know things about it.
That's one of my all-time favorite cartoons, and it only got better after they did what they've done recently with it. I'd love to put that on the list, but that doesn't belong anywhere near a list because like there's a lot of that shit.
We could do it. We could do just the first season, and then if we like it, we'll put the next season on the list.
The first season's really good, but like the stuff I'd want, because like it's a parody of everything. It's a parody of DC, Marvel, everything weird and retro in the 50s and 60s, and G.I. Joe, all at the same time. Done beautifully.
Like, I think Venture Brothers deals a lot more with like Marvel-y kind of stuff because it's easier to parody Marvel.
Honestly, it's more. I don't even know if I could agree with that because, like, the whole Venture Brothers thing is set off of Johnny Quest. The Venture Brothers team is a parody of Johnny Quest, except it's. I mean, while it is, this cartoon is done. It's a Hanna-Barbera cartoon, so Johnny Quest is in it later. Spoilers.
Yeah, but also like I'm thinking of the Fantastic Four parody.
Yeah, but that's like that comes up a little bit more, but like also I think some of the other stuff they do is characters who are directly parodied from well, the bad guy is kind of like he's a play on Doom but also Trapjaw. I'm just going to disagree with you. That's what I'll do.
Okay. No, it's perfectly fine and reasonable. I am probably way off base. It's just that's the big thing that sticks in my head is like, oh yeah, Fantastic Four. There's probably a bunch of other Marvel shit too. I know there's a Kamen Rider in one scene.
Dope.
Yeah. It's worth the watch later. And they do more Marvel stuff later as well. But that only comes to mind because like while it glamorizes and then de-glamorizes a lot of the shit that those stuff like those different things of media have done, you know, like the golden age or silver age of whatever this and whatever that, it takes that and then like puts realism on it but also comedy. This book kind of does the same, but it just puts realism on it and also like some more realism.
That's
and
hard.
mix in. I know. What the?
You good?
The Bixby terms and conditions have been upgraded on my phone.
Excellent. So we're almost over an hour on this now, and I think it's safe to say that we all adore this book. But before we move on to anything, I do want to just like quickly bring up the fact that the art in this book is fucking gorgeous.
Yep.
And they did it dirty in the movie.
Oh.
Like,
yeah.
And that's also pretty great that we've talked about this for so long without getting to the art. We've just been talking about it as a story, because that's the thing about Darwin Cook is like he had done some stuff before this, but then he went and did this, and comic fucking people typecasted him as like, oh yeah, he's the guy who draws everybody like they're from the Golden Age. And it's like, go read his Parker or something, you idiots. He has range.
Yeah.
But in this, like, everything is so good, so well detailed. He's able to get a lot of characters on a page and get like very different expressions and emotions across. And like, this is where I think I might have gotten my taste in comic book art, because this, not to the point I like it these days, but it has what I usually describe as my favorite art style in a comic, which is it's very cartoonish, but it's also got a real sketchy quality to it. Like there are some hard but kind of fuzzy almost charcoal like lines to some of these panels, and I love that.
To side note, I think the thing that made me really appreciate comic book art, or at least my favorite, is what's that man's name? What's the like definitive picture of both DC and Marvel heroes?
Alex Ross.
There you go, Alex Ross, the man,
who is currently Marvel exclusive right now.
I mean, I love Alex Ross, but he's not my favorite.
And I'm the weirdo who loves Mike Allred.
Look, Mike Allred is also very good. He's just like a few steps away from what I consider to be my favorite art style. So I always look at him and I go like, yo, that's dope, man. But could you maybe come over here?
Also, while we're talking about art, my favorite panel, the Right Stuff scene with the Black Hawks and Wonder Woman, and everybody's just walking toward the edge of the pier. Looking
How is that not a poster?
The only thing I would say would stop it from being a great poster is Martian Manhunter's just slung over drunk on King.
That's fair.
One of my favorite bits, other than like the Space Odyssey bit where they're inside of the center.
Oh, that was cool.
One thing they really did dirty was that in Sprawl, where like you see the Doom Patrol and everyone else, and like you see like that person's flashing eye, which I think is the Flash.
I'm not quite sure.
None of it aligned properly, and it's like the last panel in the comic.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. I don't know. Like the more I think about this, the more I just want to say like it is kind of like the Watchmen-ized DC universe almost.
Mm-hmm.
About instead of like being super cynical of going like the world's pretty much fucked, it's going like, no, there are good people here and they can fight the good fight.
Government bad.
Exactly.
Actually, that is funny. The whole time they're like fucking commies, but then they're like, nah, you.
Us.
Also, Supergirl is like barely in this book, and I feel it's totally justified. But also the two panels she's in at the end, my heart does kind of sing during those.
There's a lot of great like DC characters that could have been like mentioned or referenced. Like, part of me kind of wish this book was like 4 more issues longer, just so we can kind of fill it out a little bit, because it's not bare.
It's like
it's lean.
It's like this is so good that you just want to live in this universe now. Like you just kind of wish this is what DC was publishing as their main line right now.
Like I would have loved a chapter.
I have to disagree. Sorry, Chris.
I would have loved to see a chapter of like Jonah Hex dealing with like a center cult back in the Wild West. You know, that would have been cool to see, because Jonah Hex to me is like quintessential DC Comics.
I mean, like if Darwin Cook was still alive, I'd say like the next anniversary they should do a special with a bunch of short stories set in this universe.
You're talking about the movie, right, for Jonah Hex?
Boy.
Listen, buddy. Listen, buddy. It's
or like Vigilante would be cool because he has a cool design. I like Vigilante.
Shining Knight is one that like almost never gets tapped, and I think he would have fit perfectly here.
I was just gonna
Sandman.
I could do like your Sandman. I was just gonna say I do love it, but I don't think personally that like this should be like it. Just because like I've grown too custom with like seeing Cyborg as a regular leaguer, having like the weirder like Mother Box stuff and Apocalypse Tech, and
I mean
I like that. I like Young Justice, all right? That's what I like.
That is totally fair. I love Young Justice too. Also, I was not saying that. I was saying reading this makes you feel that way. I'm not saying this should be the main line.
It could have really easily been like DC's version of Ultimate.
Yeah.
I guess what I was saying is it doesn't make me feel that way just because bias. There you go.
And I mean, like, I do like Young Justice. I do like the Apocalypse Tech stuff they do in that. I'm personally more into Rebirth, the actual comics line they have going on right now. And just to like start a little fight with you on the way out the door, Cyborg on the Justice League still disgusts me, and I love how they parody it in Doom Patrol.
I don't know. No,
I think all the new gods are way too Jack Kirby for the DC universe.
I think Cyborg on the Justice League is fine. I like that. I like seeing what, in my perfect world, Cyborg was on a team of Titans or Titan-like people, and then got into the JLA. But he's like the middle ground between like the youngsters and the old fucks.
He's the
And then
liaison.
and then Blue Beetle replaces him. Because Blue Beetle is one of my all-time favorite DC characters, but so is Cyborg, and it's definitely not because they're almost the same basis of a character.
That's fair. I like that idea, but also that's not what they ever do. They just do a universe and they go, Cyborg is a founding member of the Justice League because we want to push Cyborg.
Yeah. I don't know, like I liked the idea of him being in BVS. Except I guess they went into his programming and just took out the character part of it.
Quick question: in Justice League, does he ever say "booyah"?
Yeah, he did in the trailer. If you watch like the very first trailer they drop, he's like cyborg jokey and like a cool person. I'm like, whoa, I'd go to a party with that guy. And then like you see the movie, you're like, whoa, I'd get the fuck out of this theater. Like,
Okay. I think we need to stop throwing shade at other DC things and just say, like, we really enjoyed this book. This has been a great conversation. However, I think it's time to find out what we're going to do next week on the podcast. Don't you guys?
I'm
Hell
excited.
yeah.
I'm
All
excited
right.
because I put stuff on the list.
Yeah. All right. Let me just make sure it's updated with your new stuff real quick.
I updated it recently today with one thing.
Well, I've got to load it into the fucking random name picker thing. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
The newest suggestion is Red Sun Superman, just because I liked it.
Yeah, that's in there. Okay, spin the wheel. And the answer is... No, fuck you, wheel. We are not doing 4 of my suggestions in a row. I'm spinning it again.
What was it, though?
I'm not telling.
You've broken the cycle, though. It doesn't.
Oh my god, it landed on the same fucking thing. Chris, do you want to talk about some Kamen Rider next week?
Oh god, no. That's fucking long.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That's fucking long. I can't go through that again. Spin it, please.
Alright, motherfucker, we're doing Wizards Ralph Bakshi. This is Chris' suggestion that I know nothing about. Explain it, please.
Okay, do you know the movie Fritz the Cat?
No.
Cody, do you know the movie? Okay.
Yes.
It is an R-rated, no, NC-17 rated animated comedy from like the early 70s? Maybe 60s? I don't remember. He later went on to make a sci-fi fantasy epic called Wizards. And it's really fucking weird.
Okay.
Like,
so it's gonna be a Boingo Core ass show next week, folks.
Like, let me just describe a little bit of the movie. There is a necromantic wizard who brings out 1940s World War II German tanks, and in order to get his troops riled up to fight a war, he showed them Hitler speeches.
All I'll say is it looks beautiful, and I'm excited.
Oh yeah, I don't think there's very many legal avenues to watch it, so I will find a
7C. Pirate. You are a pirate, Yahar.
I will find a 7C's version and send it to you guys.
Okay. All right. Well,
I'm excited.
I am definitely going to go into it with an open mind.
I have a feeling next week 2 people are gonna love this movie, and one of us is going to be going like, "What did I watch?" Because, dude, this is a flow movie, man. This is a movie that I can see Dan showing you and going like, "Look at this shit."
Yeah, well, I looked it up anyways, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what that is."
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
just because I've seen like clips of it and other stuff a lot. So it's cool that I think this might be one of the last like of these types of things that I need to watch. Pretty much anything that Saber Spark has also reviewed is shit I go after as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not his bad stuff, just like the ones that were like good. Like he did heavy metal.
Yeah. There's a couple heavy metal vibes in this.
That's good. That's always a good thing. As long as it's cohesive, unlike heavy metal.
Well, heavy metal was also an anthology.
I know.
Guys. We can talk about that next time. For now, why doesn't somebody tell me what the hell they've been up to this week?
Well, I watched an old ass anime.
All right, here we go.
I watched the first episode of Gunbusters, the first Gainax production.
Oh, I'm listening. I am listening. I have wanted to watch this show for a very long time, and I am highly interested in it.
It is really dang good. It's really fucking solid. It has some of the best goddamn 80s anime aesthetic ever. And the first episode is basically high school Top Gun with schoolgirls driving giant mecha robots.
Yes.
I just had to make sure I recognized it by robot and not by title, which I did.
It is super fucking Gainax though. Like the main female character will take 3 steps and her boobs will move like a foot.
I've watched a review of this, and there is literally a line in there where the guy goes, "Did you know that while you were still in your dad's nutsack, Ano and his team were busy pioneering the goddamn booby bounce?"
It's very much like that, but like it is so good. Like character designs are just like you immediately get what they're about. Like the robot designs, I would say aren't the greatest in the first episode. I don't know if they change later on. They're very kind of.
There's more than one.
Yeah, there's more than one, but it's also
it's a super robot. Like
it's a super robot. It's very super robot. It's Mazinger, Getter Robo. It's more like that instead of like Gundam, which is the aesthetic I prefer when I'm looking at mecha. I like the more realistic.
So I have to use the bathroom here.
How dare you make fun of me and then go do the same exact thing? No, Gunbusters is really fantastic. I can't wait to see more.
All right, well, you were talking about potentially putting it on the list. Now that I know you are this into it and like you're confirming everything I've suspected about it for so long, I'm just gonna say, bro, put it on the list.
I mean, it's 6-episode OVA. Each episode's about like 30 minutes, so it's not that long. It's like a Fooly Cooly.
I could probably do it in a night.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Which is coincidentally what I did with New Frontier, because I wanted to replicate the first time I read it, which was I just stumbled across it. I had heard about the animated movie, but I just stumbled across the comic on some website and read it all in one sitting from like 6 o'clock until midnight. And I was like, I'm going to do that again, but with the physical version that I own now. And oh boy, was that a challenge, but I got through it.
Yeah, but Gunbusters is now on the list.
Excellent.
So we'll watch a classic Gainax anime.
Every time I watch one of these things with one of the classic super robots, I buy one of the super robots, all right? Don't do this to me, Chris.
I got bad news for you, buddy. Or good news, depending on whether you care about your wallet or not.
Oh yeah, I definitely care.
You care that you're losing it.
Tell us how much you care. Tell me about some things you bought this week or something you watched. I don't give a shit. Tell me something. Tell me something, bro.
All right. I will talk about Doom Patrol because I pretty much did that. I got a subscription to HBO Max. I didn't pay. I got a temporary subscription. Mm-hmm. I probably will pay for it though, because it kind of has all the DC animated movies and DC movies, and also just other good stuff.
From what I hear, it's just DC Universe without the comics.
Yeah, except everything that HBO has the rights to show, and also all of Cartoon Network.
Okay, that's a good deal.
Boomerang?
I can't remember, dude. It had a whole. I can't remember. It had a bunch of.
I do
sections
know.
about
I
it,
watched
so-
like one of the new Looney Tunes shorts, and it's freaking dope.
the new Looney Tunes. Oh yeah, yeah. Doom Patrol overall. If you haven't, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to go super into it. But like, I think it's my current. It's definitely my current favorite thing in DC. But like, that's definitely the best DC Comics live action thing that exists. It's the Mandalorian of DC.
Ooh.
It's all because of Brendan Fraser.
He does that character good.
He is so good in that show in a way he's never been in anything I've seen him in. Like, I like Brendan Fraser fine, but he is acting his ass off in that show and clearly having a great time as well. And
one thing that's like a constant battle for me with that is that I love Brendan Fraser as much as we all do, apparently. And I also love, like, everything makes me be like, that's obviously your favorite character, right? The robot man, right? Right. That's him, right? But, like, it's Larry Trainer, because, like, Robot Man's an asshole on purpose. Like, a lot of the shit that he does is supposed to be shitty, like, but I love it. They're all good.
The reason Robot
Larry
Man
Trainer
is funny is because he's a dumbass asshole.
Also, though, original Robot Man, this is my definitive no matter what, because original Robot Man raced in like the Grand Prix, fancy races and shit like that. This one, every time they like do a scene in Florida, I'm like, now it doesn't really look like the Florida wilderness that I grew up in. Like,
that
I'm like,
where he fucking beats a gator.
They do that. That looked a little bit better. But I just love that it's from Florida and that he's like a stock car driver back then, because like so much of that shit, I'm like, yo, this is everything about this character should make it like tattooed on my left breast immediately. But like,
oh my god, dude, I have to stop you. That is such a great expression, and I've never heard it before.
Tattooed on your left titty.
But no, man, like if y'all haven't seen any of Doom Patrol, you don't even need to know about it. If you like the Umbrella Academy, you'll like this. If you like good things, you'll probably like this.
You like Grant Morrison? This is basically Grant Morrison's run on Doom Patrol.
If you like Alan Tudyk?
Tudyk?
Yeah.
If
you like Pirate Steve, you'll like this movie.
Oh my god, fucking Pirate Steve! Oh shit! Dude, you know what I'm putting on the list?
Dodgeball?
Dude, Dodgeball, come on. When's the last time you watched Dodgeball?
I've never seen Dodgeball.
If you could dodge a wrench, you could dodge a ball. It's a worthwhile movie. So aside from that, though, I did go toy hunting, which I should probably start filming. Or maybe, I don't know.
That'd be neat.
But I'll run back over the lucrative trade deal that I came out on top of.
Yes.
I live in the area of Palatka, Florida, which is pretty much a stone's throw away from Daytona, Jacksonville, Gainesville, St. Augustine, Civilization. And me and my buddy went out to St. Augustine to go pick up some stuff, or to hopefully go pick up some stuff. He was looking for some wrestling figures, a Braun Strowman, I believe, one of the newer ones. Not sure about that stuff. And also, I guess to say, our goal mainly, or my goal was the Secret 2-packs, which I didn't see anywhere. Or at least a surprise Rat Bat, which I know is not going to happen. Or, just whatever's out there. And with that mindset, that's why I picked up a Marvel Legends Sugarman Build-A-Figure Wave Sunfire, just because I like how that character looks.
Before you get much further into that story, I just want to let you know, because I told you earlier today privately that I was going to Target. No Seekers, no of that new exclusive release of the Mortal Kombat Spawn, and I was severely annoyed by that.
Oh, I've not seen Spawn. You know what's worse? You know the worst thing? Just to hardcore derail the conversation I was literally having a second ago. My district manager said that he found a Spawn and picked it up for me. And this is how I test this man, all right? I'm going to go ahead and just blow this out on the podcast. Oh my God, I hope you never watch it.
Don't name names.
I don't know, man. Like, never mind, actually.
Oh, come on. You can't tease the listeners like that.
You can always do it outside of the podcast.
Yeah, I'll do it outside of the podcast because you definitely did tag this on my Facebook, which he is there.
All right, guys. In 5 years, when Cody is just doing this full time, ask us about this in a Q&A.
I'll say this. The man said that he found a Spawn and he has it, except that was about a month ago. And every time I've seen him, I'm like, yo, I got $20. What's up? I'm like, I could Cash App to you. He's like, no, I don't do Cash App. I'm fine with that. But, he usually wants cash. I think he didn't find it. He either didn't find it or resold it. And the only thing that makes me mad is I was standing in front of him and I'm like, yo, you have this, right? And he was like, yes, because that was the day that it went up in stock on Amazon. And literally 4 of my friends bought it. And I'm like, well, I'm going to buy it too. And he's like, no, I got it. And I'm like, all right, I won't spend this $20. I'm like, you got it. And he's like, yeah, I just got to bring it to you. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to spend this $20. I'm not going to buy this rare figure right now. And he's like, yeah, man, it's fine. And, that's been a month ago. So when I see it, I'm going to buy it and not deal with that.
I specifically want the Target exclusive version that comes with the battle axe because throwback to an older episode of this show before you were on it, Cody. It reminds me of when Captain Logan becomes Spawn in Spawn Year.
You said something like that last week, but I still don't know what that is.
It's a web show we did on the podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's essentially the very short summation. Dude spends an entire year reviewing one Spawn item per day, like a comic, a toy, a this, a that, a the other thing, and hijinks ensue, to say the least.
Okay. I want it because I love Spawn. I don't care what version I actually don't want the battle. I want the battle axe the least. There's a rumored club version, but it's going to get to the point to where I'm going to get the kickstarted other like originals cool ass Spawn figure he's going to do, and I'm just not going to bother the modern Mortal Kombat one. If I want to fuck with that or any of the Mortal Kombat ones, because that's one of the things that me and Cole found like some shit we've been looking for a long time. Because he found a Johnny Cage, from the new Mortal Kombat, and that was the last one he needs. He has all of them. He's got all the Mortal Kombat figures, even the variants. And so he found a Johnny Cage, and I was nice enough to literally do nothing, but they went ahead because that was the same one where I found my I don't know if it has a name, but it's the Colossus Juggernaut 2-pack Marvel Legends.
I think it's literally just that. It's a 2-pack of those characters. But tell me how you feel about that.
Well, I love it phenomenally. Minor complaints about Juggernaut just a little bit, just because I like the version that the Build-A-Figure was, and I wish he had a belt. And also, it seems to be like a little bit of paint difference between like his core piece ab crunch and the outer parts that are painted.
Yeah,
but that's also like, who cares? Because
like
it all melts away when I like just put him in a pose and like put Colossus there.
My only complaint with him would be like I feel like he comes apart a little too easy, but also I know this mold was a Build-A-Figure first, so.
I have the Venom that was a Build-A-Figure and was later released officially, and you have to assemble that figure anyways when you get it because its back is off.
That's a little goofy.
And I could rock that bitch around and nothing comes off of it. But I handed Cole, because what he did is he got the entire wave of the Ghostbusters figures, and then he was like, "Yo, do you want to just pick up a pizza and go home and watch Ghostbusters 1 and 2 right now?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do that. Let's go do that."
Is that even a question?
And we took our spoils to his house, to which, and it's also cool because like I'm like, I'm probably not gonna pick up the Ghostbusters figures, but like that's one thing that we'll do is like we'll pretty much like if we go out shopping together, we open the shit in the same room. So I'd be like, "Yo, check this out," and he's like, "Whoa, that is really cool." That's what I did with the Battle Droid and like he doesn't want to buy Marvel Legends because he's bought a lot of them. To side note, this man has bought so much stuff and then resold it whenever he'll like waste a lot of his money and then like have these crazy rare collectibles and then resell them for like less than what he paid for them.
So he's a PR type.
Worse than that, man, because he's like doing it to like eat sometimes, and like he has a regular job in it. Some like I tried to get like some of the he bought the $60 Mike the Hasbro one they did not too long ago with the nice bike and everything like that. He resold that for cheap. He had a complete Walgreens exclusive Fantastic Four set that he resold, and I didn't even know that.
That is inhuman.
I yelled at him in public when I heard that.
I can see this too because oh man,
we were in that toy stop and he's like, "Yeah, and I had this and I had to resell it. I regret that." And I'm like, "You what?" Like,
okay, but you've been going on for a bit, and I really want to hear about this lucrative trade deal.
Okay, so we show up to the Ancient City Toys in St. Augustine, and they're closed. And I've been hyping Cole up on this toy store forever. And he was so excited to go in there and spend some money. But it was closed. I tried to call the guy, you know. What ended up happening is he opened up just a little bit later because he runs his own shop. That's what I would do too. But Ancient City Toys is right next to a Target. So it's now like I go to St. Augustine for nothing else but either take my car to the dealership or go to those, and it's usually all of them. Because like I get a free car wash at my dealership anyways, but they're all on the same road. But Ancient City Toys is literally like a walk away from Target. But it also has a secret road that it's on that if you follow the road a little bit, you get to see a beautiful view of this like secret cove, and then also there's a Target.
That's kind of awesome.
And so we go up to the Target, we look around, you know, we're looking for, you know, whatever. Whenever I go to a toy aisle, I literally go to like every part because I'm looking for something. I'm either looking for I'm looking at general Lego sets because I love Lego. I collect Mega Constructs heavy right now. I buy every single Heroes thing, and I want there's a new Halo Infinite wave out before the game came out, and I'm interested in getting those figures just because they look really good.
Yeah, and I do that too, just because like it's also interesting to just see what new and odd stuff toy companies are trying, even if I'm not necessarily interested in it. Like I freaking walk through the girls' aisles, just the girls' aisles, air quotes, because I think most stores don't do that anymore. Don't name them that, but I do. I just kind of look at everything and see like what the general mood of the toy industry is at the moment, because I like being aware of the zeitgeist.
Yeah. But I'm mainly saying that like I'm hunting for something. There's something I'm hunting for in every aisle almost. So
Cody
I go
confirmed for My Little Pony collector. Just putting that out there.
No. I don't like statues. All right, says the artist who makes statues. But no, like I was just looking around. We get to like there's never any Black Series anywhere apparently forever, just never again. I've seen Ceremony Luke so many times for the last 6 months, just chilling.
I cannot believe how much of a peg warmer that turned out to be. They must be kicking themselves in the ass for making that figure number 100 in the line.
There is, I think, on average, 3 different Walmarts I go to regularly in my vicinity or whatever that has Black Series. All of them have that Ceremony Luke, and that's it. And they're not on a peg anymore. There's no place for Black Series. No stores have ordered them. The targets are the same way. Like the targets have more of a respectable part, but they're like 18 waves behind. Except for one of them. One of them had one new figure, and I didn't even register it as a new figure because it was one I didn't care about. And then like I picked it up and looked at the back, and I was just like, "Yo, this was that whole wave. This was just here. Like I was here last week and it wasn't here, and somebody got this shit." And it was I've been looking for that damn R2D2, dude. I need a R2D2. But anyways, we look around and stuff, and I see the Sunfire, and I grab the Sunfire, and I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of like having second thoughts, but like my goal with this pickup is, I'm like, I know we're going to other places, but just like before, there's been times where like I saw something I kind of wanted in the first store, and every other store really didn't have anything. And that kind of was how it went. I set myself a goal of like $100, and that's kind of like right where I ended up. If I would have like done anything any differently, it's not like I wouldn't have been able to go home with like that 2-pack, and I would have been heartbroken. But so what I do is I see that he has a inbox yellow battle droid, which is one of my all-time favorite 3 3/4 inch Star Wars figures, because whenever the Phantom Menace came out, they had a 3 3/4 inch yellow battle droid on the STAP. And I still have that. Except
great.
One of his arms are broken off. I still have the arm; it's just broken off. And also, like, he's got some jiggly ass joints. He's never been able to stand up on his own.
Oh, how much you want to bet they're gonna do a release of the battle droid with the STAP as like a deluxe figure?
That's an immediate 2-buy, 2 pre-ordered, done deal. Please God.
Like that's like that's kind of the prequel version of the Scout Trooper with the speeder bike to me.
Which I have, by the way.
Oh yeah, I had that for a little bit too back when the line was new, and it is pretty cool.
I never got rid of it. I haven't gotten rid of any of my Black Series figures, which I'm so glad, but that also means that a lot of the stuff that I have boxed up is boxed up by like age as well. Mm-hmm. It's separated by what it is, but also by age. So I have like all my new Black Series in a box and all my old Black Series in a different box.
Okay, trade deal.
No. Anyways, I'm like, yo, this figure's $25. And I was already thinking about taking the Sugar Man Build-A-Figure pieces out, because this guy is also willing to like buy. Like I could just bring stuff up there and he'd like buy it if he thinks it's worth it. But he'll take like in-store credit. So I was like, I could pop up those figure parts and maybe he'll throw like $2 or $3 off of this. But then I was thinking, because like my thoughts with the Sunfire while looking at it, it's fine, but I have no connection to the character. I'm like, it's whatever. It's $20 if I get home and open it. But then like I started thinking about it more. One of the things that like bothers me so much with Marvel Legends is a lot of times a lot of the figures are just like a figure in the box, nothing else.
Yeah, they really need to step up their accessory game, in my opinion.
And for $20, I can go get a $20 Transformer, which comes with accessories and does a thing.
Or like the Lightning Collection coming with tons of accessories, or like the Ghostbusters figure coming with tons of accessories and a Build-A-Figure
Black
piece.
Series figures.
Or the fucking Classified series, which is like, here's a shit ton of weapons, and they can all store on the figure's highly articulated body.
God, that's the other crazy thing, dude. When we were walking out of the store, man, this guy like came at us like a crack addict, right? Like, and this guy is cool now. Like, I love the guy who runs the store, but he's just like, yo, man. He's like, you guys are going to Walmart, right? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, listen, if you see the classified wave, call me immediately. I'll shut the store down and come and buy it. He's like, if you see this wave, put the whole wave in a cart. Call me immediately and stay where you are. I will buy you both a figure each. And so, like, we go to this Walmart. We're like, holy fuck, dude, we're going to get free action. There's, like, nothing there. Nothing in any category. And I'm like, please, not just for me this time, I want free toys out of this. But anyways, what we ended up doing is I traded a figure I was indifferent about for a figure that like I thought I was never gonna get. Just because like the yellow battle droid's kind of rare. I'm just one thing any of the people who watch this or the people who I'm talking to right now will know is that I'm a finicky bitch and I will rarely pay. I won't go into like a GameStop to buy a Black Series figure if I know I could potentially get it from a Walmart for $5 less. I just really hate paying more than what something is initially meant to sell for. Like, that sounds weird because I will go back. I'll buy stuff that's old and I'll pay like $30-$40 for something. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with someone's buying something because it's new and popular and charging a lot of money. So like those Black Series figures that you showed me earlier back, like the $40 price tag, too much. Like monetarily in my mind, I'm like, not a lot of those are worth it. You know, like I'm not when I know that there's still a chance for me to walk into a store and drop 20 on it and walk out with the figure that's for 20.
That's fair. And like for context, listeners, Cody is talking about. I was in Toy Federation earlier, and I was texting him like, "Hey, do you want any of these? They got the new Black Series. Do you want any of these?" And they were mostly priced at like 35 to 40 a pop. And like, I understand people getting frustrated with stores doing that, but also like, I consider they have to buy it. They're a small business, and like they know these figures are new and are in high demand. And that's probably not the price they're always going to be at that store. They tend to price things just like relative to what it's going for already on the secondary market, and they try to undercut that a little because they don't have a web store and they want you to walk in and go like, oh man, I could get this on eBay right now, but it's still like $5 more. I'm going to get it here.
I get that, and I don't have a problem with that. And I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, I don't know. If it's a collector shop, I want to support them. Every time I'll support them in a different way, though. I won't pay like $40 for a $20 figure, but I will buy a $20 figure and then like another $20 figure.
Yeah, that's fair.
My only regret this time around was we were in there for so long and a couple of different things happened. And there was several times where like I went back to the shop or the shelf and was like, because like he had for $20, he had almost every iteration of Shore Trooper. And I was like, don't have any of these. Let me start this one. And so I had to really convince myself. I'm like, nah, because if I buy one, I'll buy 30.
Yeah, and that's fair. I did a lot of hemming and hawing over those Black Series myself. I ultimately, I'm not going to go in depth about this because I haven't opened it yet. But the only one I ended up getting was I got the yellow battle droid as well today.
And that was at 30, right? 35?
Yeah, and they also had the Geonosis and the heavy battle droid, and I was like, "Ooh, I could get all three right now." But also, that's like my whole budget for toy hunting today, so let's not do that. And they had Fan Channel General Grievous new in box. Almost did that, but I was like, I'd rather get this other thing that's also as much as they're asking for him.
How much is General Grievous?
I don't know how much he was originally on the Fan Channel, but they were pricing him at They were pricing him at $60.
Yeah, he's a $30 original figure.
Okay.
Which I have. Man, I'm so glad I have that. I've now decided to get 2 of every battle droid, unless I can. If I like, what I will treat it as such. I have 2 of the heavy battle droids through magic, I guess. And that's all I ever need of those. I don't know how I'm going to display them. I might give them the clone because, like, and that's the other thing. The heavy battle droid costs $30, I think, or 25. I can't remember because there was also some weird shit where, like, because it was GameStop, I had like credit one time and I had something else some other time. But I'm pretty sure that's a $30 toy. Because it was an exclusive and it's got a exclusive decal. And it also comes with all of those extra weapons. And like that's the thing where like at the end of the day, I'm like, oh, I didn't realize, because the first pictures they released of him was just like it was a redecoed battle droid that came with the same stuff. But nah, he comes with at least two other. Let me fucking grab the thing. He comes with at least two other guns. One of which is like the First Order heavy trooper gun, and the other one is like the clones heavy gun. And I'm about to either prove or disprove everything I just said right now.
No, I was looking at it and I remember it had like something that looked like that. Like I think it had the standard the separatist battle blaster thing. And it had like a sniper looking rifle and something that looked like a heavier thing that was hidden behind the character art, so I couldn't quite see it.
Yeah, it's got the First Order, it's got the standard Imperial heavy blaster, I think that is, and then the standard blaster rifle. If I'm not mistaken, I think there actually is a standard separatist heavy weapon that they didn't put in this.
Maybe it's like maybe they don't have that scoped yet.
Probably not. Either way, it doesn't bother me. But like, I want at least two of each of them. I need two of the Geonosian ones. I don't know, man. I feel like I need 4 of the yellow ones.
I mean, here's what I'd say. Because it's probably inevitable, given how easy it would be to do it as a fan channel or just a deluxe release in general, get 2 of the yellow ones for now, and wait when they do a deluxe stack release. Get 2 of those.
Oh my god, yeah. No, if they do army building for that, it's whatever it is, pre-ordered twice.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like 4 of them, twice. Like, I don't care.
And by the way, I'm looking back through those photos I was sending you. The heavy battle droid was 35, and the Geonosis one was 40.
Yeah, like I actually looked up. I found a Geonosis battle droid for like 30 or 25.
Yeah, they had every figure in that wave price, because that's the newest Black Series wave, Chris. They priced everyone at 40 except for Dooku. Dooku was 30, and I'm guessing that's because he's 2 per case. Though I can't back that up with anything. That's just a guess on my part.
One depressing part about that, though, is I was just like, you know what, dude? This is because I looked at who all came in the wave, and I'm like, I don't know why I wasn't considering this beforehand, but that they're all a buy. I'm buying all of them.
It's a bomb-ass wave. Like, I almost got Kit Fisto. I almost said, like, let's not get any of these other Black Series I'm looking at, and let's just get Kit Fisto, because I've always been fascinated with his character design ever since I was a kid, but I've never had a figure of him.
No, I love Kit Fisto. I do actually. I have a 3 3/4 inch Plo Koon and Kit Fisto. There just happen to be 2 of my favorite Jedi anyway, so that's why I like. What makes me mad is I had them pre-ordered on at GameStop, but they were going to be $25 a piece. After taxes, end up being $27. GameStop charges more for taxes, definitely. There's no way they don't. So automatically, I'm spending 5 more per figure, which adds up immediately. And I'm like, oh no, they're up on Amazon. I'll just pre-order on Amazon, and then I forgot to. So now I'm like, well, time to fist fight some kid over my toy that I want. Because like that's what I'll have to do. If I walk in and see all of them, I'm gonna have to like do that.
Get out of the way.
But no, I'm definitely gonna go. I was gonna get 2 battle droids at this one because they actually have 3 in box. And I probably need to call him back and tell him to put the other one to the side. One of them had a misprint on the eye, and that's why I didn't buy it. And that wasn't the one behind the counter, and they didn't feel like bothering about him because I'm like, I'll just do one today.
Another Black Series thing for me today. I almost bought Clone Commander Obi-Wan, but the face printing on his eyes was all fucked up, and they had like priced him down because of that. But I was like, I'm super excited because I this is my favorite look for Obi-Wan, but I don't want to get it and then have to replace this head sculpt. I don't want to have to look up like a fan one or like get another Obi-Wan figure and put that head on this. I'll wait until I can find a good one.
Yeah, the one that's in that wave, I think, is fine.
It's episode 2, Obi-Wan.
Yeah. The thing I realized, though, is that I can't find anywhere that's selling the case anymore.
Oh.
Big Bad Toy Stores, it's gone. I think they actually sold out. But they are all up for pre-order on, like, HasLab. For weird prices, by the way, or Hasbro Pulse. They're for, like, $21.39.
Huh.
And everything else is $19.99. But those are $21.39. I've never seen anything like
maybe
that.
Maybe the line's like starting to get its first price hike or something.
No, I think what Hasbro did is they're just like, maybe people will actually want prequel toys. Let's put them all on a line. Well, guys, that sold out immediately everywhere. Maybe this is what people want. More prequel stuff also. And not Empire shit every wave. Now, I'm not harking on that. I'm just saying it's time to, like, do
It's
a
not
little bit
the
of
point
other
where
stuff.
the prequels are nostalgic, though.
Yeah.
No more boomer merch.
Because, like, here's the thing. I still want to see shit from every era. One, give me a $30 Dark Trooper immediately. Just give that to me. I don't even want to pay for it. Just do it. And if you're not familiar with that, it's the cyborg / straight up mech suit / it's pretty much Fallout armor of the Stormtrooper. Because it does look exactly like that. I want to see more weird versions of the troopers. I want to see weird characters or weirder characters. Or at least interesting versions of the existing characters. I don't know who my definitive Luke's going to be. I'm kind of thinking it might end up being a homeboy with the flight suit on.
Okay.
But I don't know.
That's a take.
Just because like, the flight suit's so dope, you know? I almost picked up a Bespin Luke. I did see a Bespin Luke, and I'm like,
I'm kind of in the same camp as Evangelist of like, yo, it's cool that those get made, but I super don't care about figures and X-Wing pilot gear. Like the only one
you can just make one X-Wing pilot uniform and just make like 10 heads as like an accessory pack.
That's what they did. Well,
no, they don't do that. That's the problem.
The accessory pack part is what throw that off. Like, no, they do a bunch of re-releases with a different head.
Like the one I would buy is they just recently did Wedge Antilles in the Black Series, and I doubt we're getting a casual close Wedge ever. So I would buy that as my one figure in X-Wing pilot gear.
Just buy the Snowspeeder, dude. It comes with one.
I don't like this. I don't like Snowspeeders. I don't think that's a good design. So I'm not buying that toy.
I understand why it might not be a good design or why you might think that, but you are wrong, and it's
okay. Is there anything else about your toy hunt you want to get into, or because we've been rambling about just figures in general for almost 30 minutes now?
Yeah, I think that's about it. The other thing I'll say is that I got my Cybermats in today.
Ooh, yes. This is a thing. I was posting pictures in my server because I got the Doctor Who Series 6 Cybermats and the Flesh. Because I kind of want to start a collection of Doctor Who monsters, not Doctor Who figures in general. Just like, I want a bunch of Daleks, I want a bunch of cyber shit, and I want a few of the like random monsters here and there that I like and they made figures for. Like the Clockwork Men from Girl in the Fireplace are a must for me. So this is my first step into that. And I was posting pictures in there, and Cody got interested in them, and I was like, yeah, they're pretty cool. Until I get more figures, I'm putting them with my Transformers because they kind of look like the Scraplets.
Yeah, and I have no connection to Doctor Who, other than just growing up with Chris, who has every connection with Doctor Who.
Not anymore. Don't really like it that much.
I know, but God, you used to tell me it was the greatest thing in the world and that I have to watch it every... You're the reason why I didn't watch it.
You were one of those, Chris?
That was during Tenet, though.
You were one of those, Chris?
Hey, now it's JoJo.
You are one of those, Chris?
He was, though. He was definitely.
Okay, but
And One Piece. It was JoJo in one. It's JoJo in One Piece now.
okay, your impressions on the Cybermats, please, go.
I love them because they're exactly what I expected them to be. They fit into other things too. Like I said, I have no connection to Doctor Who. I was just like, whoa, that's 20 tiny little slug-like metal robot things. It's $7. I got it for free because I have the Amazon credit card. So every time I use it, I gain points. So I got the Child and Cybermats for free.
Nice.
Which is dope. All of them fit in my mouth.
Oh.
But
I'm gonna need to
Cody, we're uploading this podcast to YouTube, not Pornhub.
But the one thing I will say is that like the package was warm, and then like as I'm like opening it, I see like I know what the flesh is. I didn't know that it was in there. And like I'm like, what the fuck is this warm square package of goo? Of white warm goo? Like, what is this?
It's the one time a Doctor Who toy line ever did slime.
I was just like, yo, there was like a part in my mind, I'm like, oh, it's a candy toy, it's fine. I'm like, no, that's not what that is. Like,
I really should have warned you about that. I was actually going to, and then I forgot, and then you got them, and I was like, he didn't say anything, so I guess he doesn't care.
I don't know what to do with it now, though. It's just I got like a packet of fucking
honestly,
slime.
I'm with your alien slime.
Honestly, I'm planning
that's
to.
That's in the trash.
Honestly, I put mine in a drawer. I didn't open it, and I'm planning to not touch it until Retro ToyCon, and then I'm just gonna throw it at Pixel Dan because I know he likes slime.
Oh man, a slime offering.
Yes, exactly.
A slime offering.
Dude, if
we walk up to him and we do a Doctor Who reference, we just give it to him and we say, "A gift of peace in all good faith."
Again, I've never watched Doctor Who. But no, I'm down. So I guess I'll save it for that. Saving you for later, babe. I say to the slime sitting on my bed.
Wow, I can't believe you talk about your girlfriend that way.
It's my reaction to that.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. I almost like instinctively open it, which would have been not great, but I'm glad I didn't like cut into the package any kind of crazy way and it start bleeding white goo and then I call Amazon being like, yo, what's up?
Why'd y'all send? No, I'm not doing that joke.
Really minuscule side note. A thing that I ordered from Amazon for my mom. I was checking up on my shipment of the Child and Cybermats, which for some reason I ordered at the same time, but they got here at different times, which never has happened with Amazon before. That thing that she ordered, I realized, was overdue by a month.
Ooh.
And so I contacted the seller, and I was like, hey, do you have any idea where this might have gone? But I realized it was a Chinese seller. Because it was just some tropical pattern sun visor for a truck. And so they just issued me a refund and never said anything to me. And then it showed up today.
Oh.
So I'm like, do I tell Amazon?
No, you do not, Cody.
Because it didn't update us. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna.
Listen, just fucking take your little wins over Bezos where you can. I
mean, it honestly doesn't matter anyways, because like Xbox is trying to take out a $40 payment for Game Pass, which I didn't want to do. But I usually keep my credit card. My limit's only $500, and I've been like leaving it there, so I don't. Because until they let me do what I want to do with it, I'm not fucking using my credit card. I mean, it's not 500 anymore, but like it doesn't have credit on it currently or some shit. I don't know. But like that's gonna make it to where it's just gonna immediately be. Microsoft's gonna take that no matter what. So I'm just not gonna tell Amazon. So I don't know. I can't bring myself to cancel that.
All right. Well, shit, we're actually like coming right up on time. Do you guys mind if I do something, or should we just go to the outro?
Do whatever you want to do.
All right. Well, I did do some toy hunting today. I did get some stuff. I've already mentioned some of that stuff, but I'm not gonna talk about it till next week because I haven't opened any of it yet. And also, it's gonna be really exciting when I tell you about some of these things. So we will wait until we can discuss them in full. But one thing I did get last week, besides the Cybermats, is I opened my Transformers Generations War for Cybertron Trilogy Siege Netflix Edition Megatron Voyager class with Battlemaster Pinpointer and Battlemaster Lionizer. And he is delicious. Like, he's literally the best I could possibly hope for with a Generations Megatron, which I was not expecting at all. I was expecting him to be just another placeholder, but I'm like perfectly happy with him. Like, he's got just such a better paint scheme than the regular Siege one. It actually looks kind of battle scarred and war torn, and like he's been in a lot of scraps, but not overwhelmingly so. He still has that sort of G1 Megatron look, and that's kind of what I want out of a Megatron. I want a mix of G1. I want a mix of sort of the Unicron trilogy tank Megatron, and also an acknowledgement of hey, this dude became famous because he was the best gladiator on Cybertron. He is not the kind of villain that goes, oh, the pawn's going first. I'm going to stand back and I'm going to look perfectly fine at the end of this fight. He's going to jump in there with his freaking foot soldiers and just be battle damaged as all get out. Yeah, it works great. A lot of the tolerance issues on other editions of the toy are fixed here. There is one that's still prevalent on my copy, at least, that kind of doesn't ruin the figure, but it's something to be wary of. The platform the head is on, that still doesn't tab into anything, and that irritates me a little bit, but it's just like a minor adjustment when posing. And yeah, other than that, I have been watching my usual shit, but there's just not much to say on it this week. I think I'm gonna give 0-1 a little break just because like where they're teasing the story going next doesn't exactly excite me, and so I'm gonna wait until I can do like a month's worth of episodes in a sitting like I used to do. But I have been like just going down a few odd rabbit holes here and there. Like, I spent a night watching a bunch of old Jushin Thunder Liger matches because somewhere I heard the theme song and I was like, I went and looked up the full version. I'm like, this is one of the best wrestling themes ever. I have to actually look at this guy's career now. And Liger is great. I'm almost really upset that like I wasn't around to witness his career.
You should also at least watch the first episode of the anime he's based on because it's fucking wild.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. That's kind of something I want to get to at some point.
It's by Gona Guy, the guy who did Get a Robo.
Oof. I also did watch the back half of Dark Side of the Ring season 2 finally, and that's 3 episodes. The one on UWF / Herb Abrams, the one on the Road Warriors, and the one on Owen Hart. And those are all fascinating in their own ways. Like, the Herb Abrams one is like, goddamn, this guy was like if fucking Wolf of Wall Street was about a wrestling company. Like, his life was insane. The Road Warriors, they seem, the way they're portrayed in that, like, I don't know the full story and like what people outside of that documentary feel like, but in that episode of the show, they generally portray them as like, yeah, I think Axe it was, because it's Animal, Axe, and then fucking Paul Ewing, I think his name is, the AOP's original manager. I had no idea he originally became famous for managing the Road Warriors. But he is all over that documentary, and they kind of portrayed as like, yeah, we were all well-meaning guys, but one of us got like way too into drugs and alcohol and kind of about himself, and that fucked it all up. But none of us really hold it against him because he's gone now, and we just want to remember him as he was during the good times. Um, and then the Owen Hart episode is just like the best possible way to galvanize yourself into like, fuck Vince, fuck the WWE. I'm not watching anything they've ever done again. Because oh boy, is it terrible how that shit went down. And like the amount of detail they go into and like actually showing his family where they are now was really interesting, and talking about like how the Harts, the actual Hart family, not Owen's immediate family, how the dynasty, I should say, how they reacted to it compared to how like Owen's wife did. And like my one complaint with that episode is that Bret Hart never shows up. And I'm like, could you guys have not got him back? Your first episode was on the Montreal screw job, and you got a really good interview with him for that. Could you have not got him back for this? Or like back then, wouldn't you have had the foresight to ask him about Owen's death? But like he just never shows up, which was weird. But like the only reason I felt his absence was because I know who Bret Hart is. If you don't, like they talk about Bret and they talk about like some of the storylines Owen had with Bret, but for the most part, it's just like Bret Hart was this wrestler in a big family of wrestlers. Here's his career, and here's a sort of rundown of the tragedy from everyone's perspectives, and here's how his family reacted to it and where they're at now. And it was just super fascinating. And then to also complement that, I've been watching a crap ton of interviews with like wrestlers and stuff. I've been catching up on my Chris Van Vliet. Watched his interview with Greg Hamilton, which was just wonderful. Greg Hamilton seems like a marvelous man, and I really need to get around to watching his cooking show. Fucking Chris Statlander was great on the AEW podcast, because she does it completely out of character, and like I had no idea about what she's like as an actual person going into it, and I was like, oh, you're freaking adorable and like a great person, and like I love that your gimmick isn't based on sci-fi, it's based on you being into actual science. Like that makes me like you 10 times more. And then Hangman was on there doing like it half in character, half out. Like they make a joke about Adam Cole being dead during the interview, but also there's a lot of talk of Hangman being like, yeah, no, everything about my character in being the Elite in AEW, it's all me. It's all me like putting in my ideas and going like, well, this is how I feel about things, and this is how we should portray that as a wrestling story, and such and such. Like his whole animosity towards the Bucks and being in the Elite in general these days, that's based on the fact that he felt like an outsider when he first got put in the Bullet Club, and that is fascinating to me. Also, he was an art student, and then like 6 months after graduating, his school called him and asked him if he wanted his teacher's job. Yeah. And then I just listened to the Sean Spears one today, which was also great because it was a lot of him going like, yeah, I'm not at the top of the card, but like that wasn't the plan. Yeah, my character is kind of all over the place and gets thrown under the bus, but that's the plan. That's what I want to do. We are going places. Just be patient, you ninnies. And like he's very nice about it, but like that's kind of the message, which I loved, because that's what I've been saying about Sean Spears for months now. And then also today I listened to Jon Stewart on the Joe Rogan podcast, and like it's really interesting some of the discussions they get into, like both politically and just about life in general. And like they do disagree on a few things, but they're incredibly respectful about it. And they both come off as like really seasoned comedians and human beings who just like understand that like, yeah, we're going to explain our positions, but we don't expect to sway each other, and that's okay. It's about having a conversation before it is about fighting over whether one of us is right and one of us is wrong. Like the discussion they have, especially about Jon Stewart now running a rescue farm, and Joe Rogan still very much being an advocate for hunting in a conservatory way. That was really fascinating, and I'd recommend the podcast on the strength of that segment alone. And then to round it all off with a bit of wholesomeness, I went and just out of curiosity, I believe I've talked about this on the podcast before, but Chris, you know that Digibro has a brother named Victor, right?
Isn't their name Digisus now?
Oh yeah, that's right. DigiNay is the name now. My apologies.
Yeah. That's why just do Digi. It's easier.
Yeah. Digi has a brother named Victor.
Yep.
And they used to do a Let's Play channel together, but then Digi moved, and Victor said, "Okay, I'm taking the channel and I'm making it me and my girlfriend slash who eventually became his fiance." And like, I don't necessarily like Digi or her content anymore, but I still think Victor's a really cool dude, and so I'll check up on that channel every once in a while. And I did that this week, and like, they've been super busy about getting serious about YouTube during the quarantine because Victor is an independent filmmaker and he relies on shit like weddings in order to make a living. So he was like, okay, I basically can't work for probably the rest of the year. So time to get serious about YouTube. And it's been really interesting getting into the nitty gritty of what they're doing and their feelings on what's going on, and like listening to them make fun of certain trends that are going on right now. And then also they told the story of they decided, fuck it, we're just going to elope during the quarantine because you can get married online right now through a courthouse. And it's adorable how they made that into an actual thing, because they tell a story of like, well, we were going to have our parents over and like have a nice dinner, but then we decided like, let's not risk it. Let's just let's get dressed up, let's take some pictures. Two of Hope's coworkers, like each independently, got her a bouquet and a cake. And they just Skyped the judge and got it all signed and notarized right then and there, and they're officially married now. And I'm like, you know what? I know you guys did it because of the quarantine, and they go into this discussion themselves, but like, that's the way everyone should do that shit now. Like, yeah, maybe a nice dinner with the parents if they want to have that, but fuck spending a shit ton of money on weddings. I'm full on for save that money for either living expenses or, hey, instead of having a very short honeymoon, let's have a honeymoon of decent length. Why go to fucking random state town for a weekend when we could go to another country for a week and a half, kind of a thing. Yeah, that was very good. That was very wholesome. It was nice to see that like they're surviving right now, because they've like launched a Patreon and everything that I have pledged to, and it's fairly successful. And it's just nice to see that like this couple that I've been casually following through YouTube for so long now has gotten married, and they're thriving in the quarantine. That made me really happy. And that's kind of where I'll round it out. That's kind of everything I felt like I needed to touch on for what we've been up to this week. Anything else you guys want to touch on really quick? We are over 2 hours now, but I could give it another few minutes if you want to say something before we wrap it up.
No, I've said my piece, and besides, we need to kind of wrap up so Cody can get to bed.
Yeah, because he's got work in the morning, the narc. But hey, hey, narc, tell us where they can find you on the internet.
I'm right here, man. You know,
Right here, right now.
never_robot never_robot on Instagram. Snowcone83 on everything else. I think even my YouTube channel is that.
Yeah, I found your channel and added it to the members tab on the Modular Media channel. So, guys, if you haven't subscribed to Cody, go to the channel and go subscribe to him right now. Get that done.
My account name is Snowcone Space 83. Ugh.
Get it right. Oh, how dare you?
I love how visceral that sounded. Okay, Chris, where can people find your shit?
I'm Boingo Rider. You can find me on Boingo Rider on YouTube. You can just put that in the goddamn search bar. A link to my channel is probably in the description. I don't know. I don't fucking edit that shit. Cool. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Boingo_Rider. I rarely use Twitter, and I use Instagram whenever I feel like it. And if you want, you can join my Discord server. We're all in it. We all touch butts.
We do. It's very cozy.
Yeah.
I am Simeon Scott, the modular king of the vlogging ring. And let me tell you, folks, I am a YouTube extraordinaire. So you should check out my channel right now at youtube.com/thevacuuminator. And while you're at it, why don't you go check me out on social media? I got a Twitter at thevacuuminator and an Instagram that's the same at. You got to check that shit out because I'm putting out content on the reg, you dig? But before you do that, why don't you do me a big old favor and go ahead and give this podcast a like here on YouTube in order to help it out in the algorithm. Maybe comment with your thoughts on some of the stuff we discussed if you got a minute. If you're new here, give us a subscribe. Ring that bell to enable notifications so you can get every episode of the podcast as it comes out. And if you want to listen to it on the go, guess what? We got a Google Drive folder with MP3s down in the video description. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Subscribe, get more modular content in your life, and join us next time when we'll be discussing wizards.
Wizards.
I'm a wizard. That's a Kamen Rider Wizard quote from a crossover movie.
Oh god, that's going to be all that is next week.
Yes! Oh, I wasn't thinking that, but it's gonna happen now.